Hello, everybody, and welcome to... Okay. Hi. Okay. The cats are the star of the show here, if you haven't noticed, to begin this episode. Can we skadoodle, please? Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversations from the Bench. My name is Talad. I wanted to hop on here because there have been some happenings in the NBA, and this is your weekly podcast, so let's get started. We're gonna just start right off the bat with the Los Angeles Lakers. They got eliminated by the Timberwolves 4-1 in that series, and the future is bright in Los Angeles, right? There's Luka Doncic, but there are a lot of roster questions. There's no center. LeBron is 40 and only getting older. I know he produces at a high level. I get it. But you have to think long term. What is the next step for this organization? You need more scoring around those two. Luka is not a defender. Luka is not known as a defender. That's not his thing. So who are you going to get to help him out? You had a center or you had a forward, right? Anthony Davis didn't want to play center. He asked the Lakers to go get his center so that he could move to his natural position, be more effective. And the Lakers, instead of saying, okay, yeah, sure, Anthony, we'll do that, they sent him to Dallas. And I get it. Luka Doncic was made available to you. So, yeah, you're going to go get him. And that makes sense to me. You're going to want to go ahead and kind of have another cornerstone for your future in a 25-year-old stud. But you still have these questions. I don't really understand why Rob Pelinka is allergic to getting a center. This has baffled me since they won the title in 2020 and refused to re-up the roster. The Lakers like taking care of their own, which is great, but by extending Pelinka, and he probably got that extension, by the way, because of the Doncic trade, because I don't think otherwise he has done a super fantastic job with the roster. I think he's tried. But when your players are telling you for the last few seasons, not even just the last few days, hey, I need a center, hey, we need a center, we need to be better, we need to find more guys in the middle, and you just don't really do anything about that, you don't take it as seriously as you should, I think there's a huge problem there. Don't really know why they didn't just re-sign Dwight Howard. I think he was good in that role. He was willing to do kind of whatever for the Lakers to get back on that team. And even if you didn't want him, you wanted another option, why didn't you go out and sign one? I don't really understand. Jackson Hayes was your center. You're just going to go ahead and ride with that? There's nothing you're going to do? You're not going to try to get anybody else? And I get it. Effective centers don't grow on trees, sure. But you didn't even, to me, it just doesn't even seem like you tried very hard. That's just my opinion. I mean, I could be completely wrong here. Maybe they did and it just didn't pan out the way they wanted to. JJ Redick, this is his first year. Maybe he's looking for a different type of center and the Lakers haven't been able to kind of locate that. But in this league that's gone from small ball and it's kind of growing back to you need big guys, Victor Wembanyama, right? Wemby is in there. Karl Anthony Towns has been in the league for a while. And you just got beat by a Rudy Gobert because you don't have a center. You need to go out and get one. You need to figure it out. Because now you've wasted a few years of LeBron's career. And I get it, he is a freak. He is amazing. But how much longer is he going to be able to do this for you? We say it every season. How much longer can LeBron be this effective? And he can be this effective for as long as he wants to be. But there is going to be a point where his body is going to say no, because that's just how it is. That's human nature. So you need to do due diligence. You need to go out and next season, in my opinion, Rob Pelinka, you need to go out and you need to figure out this roster. And I am by no means a Lakers fan. I'm not. I'm a Celtics fan. But as an NBA fan, what is your roster doing? I mean, I didn't watch the Lakers series that closely, and it's because I'm on the East Coast and those times are really late for me. But from everything I have known about that series, Austin Reeves was not as effective as he should have been. Another really big red flag because the Lakers, in my opinion, have hinged a lot, and they put a lot on Austin Reeves to kind of be that guy for them. And he's been good. He's a gem of a second rounder? He has been an awesome NBA story, and I'm really happy for him. But what are you doing when you're not able to kind of surround your guys with more shooters? You're not able to surround them with like even more scoring. I don't really know kind of what their path forward is in terms of like what do you do to retool this roster, because every summer they go out and they do it, they retool, but they just don't do it enough. I don't really know what it is. They got the 3rd seed this season, which is awesome. They had been kind of bottom dwellers in the conference in terms of like the playoff seeding. So boom, you get to the top, you get like top 3 seed. That's amazing. But you don't have a center, so that's not going to last very long. And the playoffs are different than the regular season. You can be the number 1 seed, but if you're not built for the playoffs, you're going to flame out really quickly. It's all about matchups. We saw it how Oklahoma City could not handle Dallas last year, right? And this year the Lakers could not handle the Timberwolves. Even though they're seeded higher, why couldn't they handle them? Because of the matchup. And I had come on here and I had said I think the Lakers are going to win because I just think how do you stop LeBron and Luka? And it turned and how do you, once you stop Anthony Edwards, who's really going to score for the Wolves? Well, you know what? They really shut me up because they did a really great job of getting that part down. And Anthony Edwards continues to kind of progress as a pro. He's still really young, but he's continuing to make those progressions. Rudy Gobert just, went to town on them. And that's really what it came down to. And the Wolves have some defenders. Julius Randle, also very underrated part of this. Julius Randle, as another big on that team, also totally took the Lakers to town. Like, he feasted on the Lakers. He had like 27 points, multiple rebound games. I mean, he just did whatever he wanted. And there is nothing the Lakers could do because they don't have the personnel. And, you look around the league and you're like, all right, well, Giannis will probably be available at some point and we'll get into that. But you don't really have assets either. You don't have a ton, like you have some. You definitely have more assets than like Milwaukee has. But you don't have a ton. So what is kind of your move forward here? What, you're going to try to trade for someone? Probably. I don't know who that would even look like. Best bet is to sign someone. I don't know who the free agents are this upcoming summer. I haven't looked at that list yet. But you got to figure something out. I mean, how many seasons as a Laker fan can you look at this and the job Rob Pelinka is doing and be like, yeah, I'm happy with this? I would be very dissatisfied. Because I have LeBron James on my team who's playing at a high level. And I understand that this team was not built around Luka. They got him mid-season. So they'll find pieces that they can build around him. Like Dallas got Derek Lively, who played great with him. So, you need to draft a center who can work well with Luka. You need to sign guys that can work around him. You need defenders. No one on that team is necessarily known as the most lockdown defender in the NBA. Like Jared Vanderbilt had kind of made a bit of a career off of being a defender. The problem with Jared Vanderbilt is he's hurt a lot. So you need to surround Luka with defense. And you need big, strong, tall guys, long defenders, physical defenders. Because Luka's not going to be that physical defender. I don't know if he will. He's only 25. There's so much growth that can still happen with his game. But is he going to take that next step, take that conditioning very seriously? And maybe he will in LA. I don't know. But even if he does, will his defense necessarily improve? Just like he won't be gassed at the end of the games, which is great. You don't want that. And he gets gassed at the end of games. But is he gonna, defensively, does he have the ability to move his feet the way you need him to? Even if he gets in super tip-top shape. Can he do those things? That remains to be seen. I don't know. It's possible he does get into super tip-top shape now that he's playing with LeBron, and LeBron takes that stuff extremely seriously. And it's hard to like play with LeBron and be like, no, I'm not gonna do that, what that dude does. I mean, he sets such a tone. He sets an example. But this roster, man, I mean, what a disaster just from the center position. There's no one on that roster, like a big man, that I look at and I'm like, yeah, I'm scared. I was scared of Anthony Davis, right? Like, he's a big, powerful center who can really do whatever he wants in the paint if he really wants to do it. And just could not do it this year. Like, after he got shipped out, there's nothing you can do this year at that position. You kind of kick the can to next year. And I think it's upsetting, you know. If I'm a Lakers fan, I'm like, you know, that's just another year, and I'm kind of bummed about it. I'm optimistic because of Luka, but it's just, I think it's frustrating. It feels a little bit like Pelinka kicked the can down the road, and, you know, he manages to get stuff done, and we've seen that. But what is that next step for the Lakers? What does that look like? This doesn't look like Bradley Beal. If they get Bradley Beal, which I don't even think they possibly could, given trades and cap and things like that, but they don't need a guy like that. They need a guy that can come in and do defense first and, you know, 3-and-D. Awesome. They need a perimeter defender. They need a paint presence. And it's easy to say, oh, they just need to sign a good center. I think that roster needs a little more work. I think it just needs more. I can't name off the top of my head exactly what that would look like, but 3-and-D, big guy in the paint, don't know who that would be, but I'm sure there's someone you could find that could maybe like fill that hole for you. I know Paul Reed was available at one point. You know, that could have been a nice option. Look in your G League. Is there a guy down there that can help out? You know, the Lakers are good at drafting. They've proven that. So is there a guy in this year's draft that could help you out? There's not going to be, you know, another Cooper Flag, but is there someone else that can really step in? I think NBA teams should be looking more at seniors, juniors and seniors, because and we saw it last year, I believe the Lakers draft pick was a senior. I know the Celtics, Baylor Shireman of the Celtics was a senior, and he came in immediate impact, right? Basically. I think we're going to see guys stay in school longer, to be honest, unless you're like a for sure, like Cooper Flag, number 1 overall pick type deal. But I also think that you're going to see guys, when they do come out of school, now they've played like 3-4 years of ball, and they're a little more seasoned. And I think the NBA will benefit from it. I think everyone will benefit from it. And I think that it will be really interesting to see kind of how that progresses for teams. All right, next I want to talk about hold on one second. Okay. Next, I want to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks because I have thoughts. Obviously, the Lakers need work. We talked about that. The Bucks lost to the Pacers. Kind of the same idea. Just outmatched in positions. The Bucks are very screwed. They are in turmoil. They're in trouble. No coaching change is going to fix this roster. I don't really know what you do as the Bucks, unless you trade Giannis. Damian Lillard tore his Achilles. He's like 34, 35. I mean, that dude, I think it's done. I think he was done before. I think he's like done now. I mean, yeah, he can come back, but it doesn't, to me, it's not going to make a difference. Hi, honey. Here we go. Okay. You trade Giannis. Is Giannis going to ask out? Probably. I mean, maybe. He's a loyal guy, right? But it's been a few years now of the Bucks just kind of underperforming, probably by his standards as well. And I think that for him, it's like, all right, where can I go? He's like 30, right? So where can I go to maybe play the last few years of my career? Somewhere that gives me an opportunity to win. The name I've seen floated around is Houston. Houston has assets. They can go ahead and do that. It's not going to be the Lakers. The Lakers do not have assets. I don't think they have the cap. I don't think the Lakers are going to happen. And watch me eat my words somehow, some way. I think if the Knicks were smart, they would have held on to all their stuff last year and monitored the Giannis situation and tried to trade for Giannis this summer. But they traded for Karl Anthony Towns, who's proven to be good for them. But if you're the Knicks, I think you would have preferred to have Giannis on your team paired with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart and OG Anunoby. And, now if you're Milwaukee, the thing is Milwaukee just has nothing. They have nothing in the pipeline in terms of, young talent, okay? They have nothing in the pipeline for draft picks. They are out of draft picks till at least, 2031. They traded everything for Dame. They traded everything for Jrue Holiday when they got him. So the Pelicans and the Blazers are still owed draft picks. The Pelicans are still owed draft picks, and Jrue Holiday's not even on the team anymore. They really went all in to get that title for Giannis, which is great because they did win a championship. If they had done all this without a title, I think it would have been much worse. But they signed their GM to an extension. The guy who waited way too long to trade Chris Middleton, he should have been traded at least 2 years ago, went in and got Damian Lillard, which is probably Giannis's input, to be quite honest with you, because who doesn't take their star players' input on things? Definitely. And that's turned out to be just a terrible trade. Damian Lillard never wanted to be there. You could see it in his body language. And now it ended with him tearing his Achilles without the Bucks really getting out of the first round. It didn't do much for you other than, a flashy name. Damian Lillard has not done anything for your organization that Jrue Holiday and Chris Middleton didn't do. Jrue Holiday and Chris Middleton achieved more. Chris Middleton's knees obviously just didn't want to, be healthy anymore, which is a shame. But if you're Milwaukee, you have to, man. You have to start over. It just doesn't. There's nothing. There is nothing you can do without trading that guy. Unless you just are resigned to being mediocre and having him drag you into the play-ins or into that 4-5 slot year after year. Being mediocre in the NBA, in the NFL, is a terrible place to be. That's the worst place. You either have to knock it all down, burn it to the ground, start over, or you trade for a superstar and surround him with the solid dudes, with the flex, and maintain your flexible cap space. And that is where the flaw is. There is no cap space. The second apron also has just totally screwed teams over. There is nothing the Bucks can do. So what do? You have to burn it down. And I think we will see that. I don't think the Bucks will trade Giannis until he asks. I think they will remain loyal to him, which is what should be done. But if you're looking at it purely from a business standpoint, very cutthroat business, you should trade him. And if I'm Giannis, Milwaukee's been great, but I'm kind of sick of the fact that I know the roster's not going to be good anytime soon. And I love that city, but I want to be somewhere. It's not going to be Miami. They also don't have assets. But I want to be somewhere that is going to be serious about trying to win. Can you pair him in San Antonio? Absolutely. They have Stephon Castle, who just won Rookie of the Year. You can give some draft picks. Definitely. Him and Wemby would be unbelievable. Him and Wemby, CP3 is still there, so he can get them the ball really effectively. Surround them with perimeter defenders and shooters. 3-and-D guys. And now, we're really working with something here. That is put it on national TV every night. That's what I'm talking about, You give me Giannis and Wemby on the same team, okay? San Antonio Rockets right up. And that would be Wemby's third season. Unfortunately, his season was cut short this year due to blood clots, and I hope he will come back strong and be okay and healthy. You are building around your star that you wanted to do. People are not patient about building anymore. You have to show that you're really doing it. And, or else, what's going to stop Wemby from kind of looking around and being like, oh, well, I don't know if this is the place. Go out and try to get Giannis. Houston's going to try to do it. And I feel like Houston might get it done, to be quite honest with you. Oklahoma City's not going to do it. Because why? They could. I guess they have all the draft picks in the world, but I don't see a reason for them to. I think their timelines are all pretty matched up. SGA is on a slightly different timeline than the rest of the guys. He's a bit older. He's not Jason Tatum's age. The rest of the guys are like 5 years younger than him, 4 years younger than him, whatever it is. But Giannis doesn't fit that at all either. It doesn't fit that timeline. I think it's Houston or San Antonio for Giannis. Giannis is Texas. Giannis is going to Texas if he asks out. He could go to like a Brooklyn, I guess, but I don't really see the reason Brooklyn would do that because I don't know what you even have there right now. I don't think there's nearly enough. It's not that different from the Milwaukee situation. They still need to build it from the ground up. The Raptors. Yeah, Masai Ujiri has made his intentions of trying to get Giannis very clear over the past few years. And I think he would try whatever he could. I mean, this guy went out and got Kawhi for a year, won a title, and then Kawhi walked away. Right? I think Toronto would try anything to get their hands on Giannis. But the thing is, it's the same situation as what are you surrounding him with? Who are you surrounding him with? It's any team that's not Houston, in my opinion, what are you surrounding him with? Houston has more structure in place, you know? It's not to say those other teams couldn't. I think the only other team that could realistically go out and surround Giannis with like really good players or players that could help maximize him a little bit more than Milwaukee does is San Antonio. Because you already have that second star there that already is going to elevate it. Giannis is not much of a deep threat shooting-wise, but Wemby is. So you can put Giannis more inside. Wemby can pull out. And now, like, what do you do? What do you do? Like, these are freaks, right? Greek freak, right? Like, Wemby is an alien, and we know that. And Giannis is literally the Greek freak. Like, these are two of the most crazy athletes the NBA has. Like, how do you really defend against that? It is crazy. You go out and you get Kristaps Porzingis. That's what you do. But it is something. I think the Lakers and the Bucks to me are just so interesting. They're so interesting. Their off seasons are going to be something everyone is going to monitor. I think specifically Milwaukee more than anything else, because you have the big star, and it's what's Giannis going to do? You know he's not happy. You know he sees the writing on the wall of there's no real path forward here, but do I kind of abandon the organization that has given me so much and really believed in me? You know, Giannis was not like a top 3 pick, you know, like he went later in the first, and Milwaukee really believed in him, and he gave them a title in return. I'm so excited. It's so fascinating. And we'll probably see more traction over the next few weeks. I don't even think we necessarily need to wait till like the draft to see traction. I think as far as like rumors, I think you'll hear some stuff before the draft, and we'll get an idea. And these types of things don't really shake out until like July, right? Like these big superstar trades or something, unless the Bucks are eyeing this draft and a talent in this draft that they think they really want to get their hands on. I'm not too familiar with the draft this year other than Cooper Flag. I haven't done my digging into it quite yet, but man, what are the Bucks gonna do? The difference with like the Lakers and Bucks, and I am gonna be a homer here for a second and talk about the Celtics. And I'm gonna talk about the Thunder too, because the Thunder have amassed 1 billion draft picks and maintain that like flexibility, right? Because they have a lot of cheap contracts, they have SGA, and then they have all their draft picks. The Celtics have done what the Lakers should have done, which is re-sign all of their players from their championship roster. Why Rob Pelinka did not do that is beyond me. Why didn't you attempt to keep this core together? And it's my same issue with the Denver Nuggets. To throw you as something out of left field here, haven't brought up the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets just looked at their championship roster and said, you know what? We don't need to re-sign anybody. And they just let people walk. And then they're like, oh, wow, I wonder why we suck. Even though it's only been like a few years since we won a title. You won a title like 2 years ago, dude. And it's like you've fallen off a cliff ever since then. It is crazy. The mismanagement of the Nuggets roster is really something. Because you have this unbelievably amazing generational player in Jokic, and all of a sudden you're just going to decide not to surround him with talent. I don't get it. You let Kentavious Caldwell-Pope go. You let Bruce Brown go. Like, those are two important pieces of your team, and it's just like mediocre now. You're like a mediocre team, and we said you should never be a mediocre team in the NBA. You should be a mediocre team in the NFL, because guess what? Now in the NFL, that quarterback you wanted to draft, well, he's going number 2 overall. And because you were mediocre and went 8 and 9 instead of like 3 and 14 or whatever, you can't draft him. And now you're picking like number 9 or something, and you have to settle for a position that you don't really need to fill that badly. It's also something that I think the Cleveland Browns made a mistake with. Cleveland Browns looked around and said, we're punting our quarterback search to next year. I know they believe Shedeur might be the guy. Everything remains to be seen on how all that plays out. They kicked the can, essentially, to try to look at next year's draft. And everyone's eyes are on Arch Manning for next year's draft. The Cleveland Browns, if they are in a position to draft like number 1 overall Arch Manning, probably, right? They have failed miserably in their football season. I do not think that team is going to draft number 1 overall. They're going to have a better year, but they're going to have a mediocre year. They're going to have like an 8 and 9 season, and then they're going to, again, pick somewhere in the top 10, but later in the top 10, and they're going to end up with a guy they don't really want to get because they didn't, draft a quarterback, or they thought they could draft their guy this season, and they did not. Not that this draft necessarily had a lot of options at quarterback. It didn't. They took 2, right? Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. But you have Joe Flacco. You have Jameis Winston. I just to me, this is you did that Deshaun Watson trade, and this is kind of what you deserve for that trade, is mediocrity in the quarterback room. And it's unfortunate because the Browns have amazing fans, and they've always kind of had mediocrity in the quarterback room. But now the NFL looks around and it's like, you made this trade, and now you need to figure it out, man. Like, you need to figure out what is your next step with quarterbacks. And the next step might just be like looking around and doing that and getting Dylan Gabriel and getting Shedeur, and then like drafting guys and seeing where it pans out. Because the Giants don't have a quarterback either, right? Like, you don't have a quarterback. Last year was the quarterback draft. And the teams that really needed quarterbacks last year, they took them. But you didn't. And the Browns, I don't know where they drafted last year. Maybe they should have taken a quarterback last year. I don't know where they will draft next year, obviously, but last year's draft class had a lot in it, and maybe they should have attempted to trade up a little and get a quarterback that would have worked out for them, or that they could have a little more confidence in. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be fortunate enough to be in that situation. Fortunate enough to be in the situation where they draft like top 3 overall to get like a super elite quarterback, but if it's a quarterback that, is if it's like a quarterback heavy draft class, I don't know what it's going to be like. If it is a quarterback heavy draft class, they'll come away with someone maybe who's like, just like last year, it was quarterback heavy and there were still guys that came out who were pretty solid. That remains to be seen, but maybe you should have figured something else out. I don't know. I think their situation is also interesting. All these organizations are just doing all this crazy stuff, and it is so fascinating to watch from the sideline as a fan. It's just like, what's the next step for these guys? you know. We'll see as it plays out, right? All right, thank you so much for listening to me today. This was Conversations from the Bench with Talad. I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a good one.